Infernal greetings, infernal blessings to all. Yes, you have not seen me in a long time because Ravana Noon has been doing a lot of internal work, which is what most of us should be doing as time continues, as time travels forward and backwards and around because time is not linear. We start to understand something, and that is that we need to truly wake up and really look at what's in front of us, around us, to the side of us. We're in a time of destruction right now, pure and utter destruction. The time of set is upon us. Chaos, chaos, utter and complete chaos. Not metaphysical chaos, not spiritual chaos, as we all like to try to understand it, but actual physical, mental, spiritual chaos. It is happening simultaneously on all levels. When the time of set comes in, we have to understand that this is when it is the most conducive time to do the work of the isolated consciousness. See, chaos in this day and time has a purpose. The purpose is to destroy the energy that is directed at controlling the masses, the cattle, the sheep, so on and so forth. These individuals all move as one. And what I mean by move as one is they are mindless zombies moving in one direction and one direction only. And that is where they're told to go and where their masters tell them what to do. But if you do any research, you will see that much of the adversarial currents always went against society. So what I don't understand is how some people on the left-hand path are moving with society, are condoning the practices of society, are wrapped into the happenings of society. Well, this is when set comes in. That energy of set begins to bring in the chaos because it is a time for you to isolate yourself from the masses. It is a time for you to do the internal work. Not time to just wear a costume and say, I'm dark, satanic, Luciferian, um, black magician, I'm a black adept, but you are just representing a fashion show. You do no internal work. You do no work at all but worship outside of yourself, which is the same practice you did on the right hand path. The same practice you have continued to do. You just became a little more eerie, a little more dark, a little more fashionable, but maintain the same beliefs and practices as you did on the right hand path. Worshiping God and Jesus is no different than hailing Satan and anything else. But many won't understand it and they will argue and fight with me and try to debate with me about this topic because they are still under the sheep or herd mentality. And when you're under the sheep and herd mentality, anything that isolates your consciousness, you will fight against. Therefore, you are still under a serious level of programming. Your programming is what keeps you within the confines of a sheep consciousness. It is what keeps you controlled. It is what keeps you bound within the parameters of society. When I came into the left hand path some many years ago, what drew me into this path was the isolated consciousness. It was the separation from society. It was the separation from the mass programming called religion society's framework, and so on and so forth. This is what drew me in. What drew me in was not looking like the rest of the sheep in the left hand path, which is most people in the left hand path want to dress gothic. So what really changed? You were in a social club in a right hand path, whether it was Christianity, Islam, or Judaism, that had its culture, it had its style of dress or fashion, it had its language, it had its everything. What has changed? What has changed? Nothing. Because you're still doing that here. Now you want to look like everybody else on this path, and you want to look gothic, and you want to dress in dark clothes, and you want to paint your fingernails red or black. You want to paint your lips black. You want to dye your hair and do everything else. Now you have a mass amount of people on the left-hand path doing the same thing. Nothing has changed. You guys are still a part of a sheep herd mentality. That is the problem. This is why we're at the apex right now of what you would call the separation. In alchemy, spiritual alchemy, we are actually on the cusp of separation, separating ourselves from the old self to be renewed and reborn into the new self. This is a dark alchemical practice we should be doing in a left hand path. We should be tearing the layers of the old self apart. This is why we begin with calcination. We begin to burn away and turn it into ashes, the old aspects of the self that came from the right hand path, came from the conscious community, or anything else, New Age or whatever the case may be. All that should be burnt away and turned into ashes before you come into the left hand path. But if you're here now, the process should be now, should begin now. Unfortunately, too many are still programmed. If you are on this path and have done no level of shadow work, you should not be here because you are doing exactly what's happening now, bringing in that new age religious mentality into the left hand path. And it's making this path weaker than it should be. There is something to be said about dark spiritual alchemy upon the self. When you go through the tree of Qliphoth, the tree of death, you are doing a dark alchemical process through each Qliphoth gateway. You're doing it. Unbeknownst to many, it is happening on a subconscious, unconscious level, which then eventually affects the conscious. It is happening. It is happening, but we stop it or we refuse to let it flow the way it should because we're afraid of what's on the Sitra Ara, the other side. We are afraid of opening the portal to go to the other side. Where in that other side, we look back at who we created ourselves to be. That persona, that mask that we've worn, or multiple masks that we've worn to exist in this world. We refuse to unmask ourselves and still find a way to keep that mask on this side. We keep that mask because we're afraid to see who we really are. You're afraid of your darkness. You're afraid of your perversions. You're afraid of your violence. You're afraid of your emotions. For that, you should just go be a Jedi and go meditate in a Jedi temple and disconnect from your emotions. But that is not the way of the left hand path. The left hand path, we feel everything. We allow ourselves to feel everything. every emotion we have, every thought that manifests, we feel it. We allow ourselves to not only feel it, we experience it. We experience those things because experience is one of the true teachers of this planet. Experience is one of the true teachers of this planet. And we avoid experiences, we are doing a disservice to ourselves. But we do not and have not allowed ourselves to do the work of breaking free. I'll give you an example. Some people that I remember that I've come across on this journey through classes and so forth, they resisted a lot of things for a long time. Some have disappeared. Some we have no inkling of what's going on in their life. We have not heard of anything. Some people disappear. They just leave, disappear, and don't communicate and tell people why they're gone. That is their prerogative. That's fine. That's not our job to investigate on everybody's experiences that they're currently going through. But when these things occur, I noticed a pattern. A pattern. The pattern is if you came here for power and riches, you usually get devoured. But if you came here to gain power over self, then the riches are astronomical. Therefore, many leave because their physical life didn't change fast enough according to their expectations. And what I've always shared with people since day one of YouTube and Patreon classes, unrealistic expectations is one of the greatest, 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 greatest things that lead to failure. Failure in your life, failure in your relationships, failure in financial endeavors, so on and so forth. You're unrealistic. Stop it. That unrealistic expectation will destroy you. Some people come in here because they want to be the most powerful black magician ever and get devoured. Why? You can't be powerful if your weaknesses overpower the power you seek. Let me say that again in another way. You're only as powerful as your weaknesses. A lot of you all have weaknesses, myself included. There's a difference. I work on my weaknesses every day, confront my weaknesses every day. I do this work every day. I do not and will not make excuses for not doing the work. I will not make excuses for failure. I will not make excuses for anything. I hear too many excuses and not enough solutions. If you're walking this path, you seek the solution and stop whining and complaining about the problems. If you whine and complain about the problems, you're not solving the problems. Some people whine and complain so much about their problems that then they find a new persona to put on, and now they're a poet. Now they are a meme scientist. All they do is want to create memes. But what that shows me is there's still no real work being done. I'm going to tell you why. And people can say, what do you mean? What do you mean? If a person has to tell you they've changed, it's a 99% chance they haven't changed. Change is not you seeking validation because you behave differently or acting differently than you did before. You just change for the wrong reasons or think you've changed, which you didn't. You're still the same person. Change will be seen by your actions, by your behavior, not seeking validation because, oh, look, I changed and look, I've changed. No, you haven't. If you have to tell me you changed, I know you haven't. I should be able to determine that for myself just by seeing how you're behaving, how you're acting and reacting to things will let me know a lot. A lot of people have not changed. They're just wearing a temporary costume until they finally really get this or never get this, and then they get devoured or disappear. Okay? So if you feel like you have to tell me, look, I've changed so much in that time, I already know you haven't. You're just full of shit. You're trying to convince me that you changed, but I already know by you signaling and stating to me you've changed, you haven't. That is an action that when change really occurs, it occurs internally, which then leads to an external change in your life as well. One can see that when they know what the work entails, they can see the change in the person for real, not some temporary false change. So let's say that for years you've suffered from being bullied, used, and abused, and you then start your journey to change your life. You do work, but you don't complete the work. You do some work, but you don't complete all the work. So you do some work and you think, oh, look, I've changed. Look at what's happened. What's this or that? But you don't complete anything. You haven't changed. Because I guarantee you, if you didn't complete the work here, you didn't complete the work in your other endeavors in life, which is why you're in the situation you're in. Discipline. Many people lack discipline. They can't be disciplined for anything. Therefore, you're not going to change. Change comes from discipline, not a free for all. Change comes from discipline. So, to know, to dare, and to keep silent is something those who've walked into the mystery schools, the temples, the lodges, so on and so forth, understand wholeheartedly. A lot of you can't keep silent for anything. You can't hold water. You can't do nothing without opening and running your mouth. But you want all the secrets of the universe. You want all the secrets, all the power, but you can't keep silent. It's tragic that you would think that. Nowhere in the history of this planet has anybody ever received anything that wasn't tried, tested, or proven. The problem is in this new day and time, many of you all out here think you're entitled to something. You're not entitled to nothing. Everything is earned on this planet. Everything. You are not entitled to anything by the mere fact of who you're born to, who your parents are, what your nationality or ethnicity or race is. None of that entitles people to anything. These are false concepts and narratives that we have accepted over time. You are not entitled to shit on this left hand path. You have to earn everything that you get on this path. So many of you are afraid of joining classes, but want all the secrets, but don't do no work. You're not entitled to shit. Many of you will never join a temple, a organization, a secret society, or whatever the case, because you've been so bombarded with false narratives and misinformation about those things that you are doing a disservice to yourself and never getting the wisdom and knowledge that you need for your progression in life. So many of you all were freaking taught incorrect information, but never questioned it because you were so mesmerized by a charismatic speaker and never did any research of, is this information factual or not, because you were so caught up in the ether. You were like high. You were like, charged up off of false information that you don't go anywhere to really do any research and investigate, is this true or not. So many of you all give false narratives about Freemasonry, but never ever set foot in a lodge. But you'll listen to these YouTube teachers and you'll listen to these individuals who swear they know so much, and most of them don't know shit. And I'll be real with you about that. I'm not that type of person that ever sat there and said, "Oh, I'm just going to listen to YouTube and watch videos, maybe get a couple books here and there, and then I got it all figured out." No. I earned what I know. I walked through a lot of secret societies, temples, organizations, so on and so forth. My belief, and this is just my belief, the only way you really learn something is by going inside of it, not sitting on the sidelines, not sitting in the bleachers, but going inside of it. I'm not afraid to go into things. I'm not afraid to go into Freemasonry, Shrindom. I'm not afraid to go into Rosicrucianism, Astara, so on and so forth. I'm not afraid of that. I wasn't afraid to do any of that. I wasn't afraid to go into the African traditions and spill blood. I wasn't, and still am not afraid of any of that. Too many of y'all are too fluffy, too scary, too light, too bright. So you'll never get the information that you really need. You don't receive the gnosis. You don't receive the information on these mysteries because you are misinformed by charismatic teachers that wanted you to be up under them. That's it. Wanted you to be up under them. So this is what happens is too much misinformation, too much nonsense has been seeped into the left-hand path, and now we have too much crap and ill-informed people and religious people that are now here. And it's tainting the work. These people come in here thinking they're entitled to this information. They come in here thinking they have to do no work. Buddy, on this side, it is nothing but work. If you are not willing to be destroyed and build yourself up again and destroyed and build yourself again, you don't need to be here. If you're not willing to be destroyed, and then when you are being destroyed, you're gonna make the assumption that you're being destroyed because you're on the wrong path now, this left-hand path. Oh my God, I'm not ready for this. Oh my God, what have I done? Then you go running back to the church, the masjid, the synagogue. You were just weak at the time. That doesn't mean you can't overcome those weaknesses and stand up in the face of adversity and continue your journey and become a black adept on this path. But it does mean that you do have to address yourself and check yourself and see if you're too weak to continue working and walking this path. Weakness is a cancer. Weakness is a cancer unless you learn to transmute that weakness into a strength. Are you willing to sacrifice time and energy to achieve that monumental task? Can you can you transmute your weakness into a strength? Can you do it? That's the question. That's the question many have to ask themselves. Can you do that? Can you really take that journey of transformation? Or is it just lip service? Does it just sound nice rolling off your lips that you're telling everybody, I'm transforming, I'm doing all these great things? Sounds nice, but is it realistic? Is it real? Or are you just painting a picture? Some people come in here because they have sexual hangups. And then they think this is going to be a free for all. And I'm just going to let it all hang out. And I'm just going to just let my sexuality rule me. No, you're in the wrong place for that. Yes, we indulge on this path. We do wholeheartedly. But the restraint comes in because we have to understand there's a point that you need to gain power over your sexuality. Understand the alchemical and science behind sex, which then will lead to power through sex by having power over sex. If you understood the alchemy of sex, if you understood the science of sex, when you indulge, there would be a greater purpose than just busting a nut, coming, having an orgasm, so on and so forth. You would understand that there's such a greater purpose that sex would become something that is more selective for you when you do engage in it. You would understand that your partner has to be the creme de la creme or the cream of the crop. Otherwise, you might be doing a disservice to yourself. Destruction is inevitable, but how you build yourself back up after destruction is monumental. If you get destroyed, whine and complain, blah, 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 this happened to me, oh my God, then your weakness has overpowered you and controlled you. But if you see destruction as a science, as an alchemical practice, then you will understand how to build yourself back up in the midst of that destruction. And when you do build yourself back up, you should be stronger and better than ever. You have to be willing to be destroyed. You have to willingly want to be destroyed. When you work with demons on this path, the demons are actually taking you through an alchemical process. Let's say the 7 stages of spiritual alchemy. They're taking you through that process. Those 7 stages can take quite a long time. And they test you at the very beginning because they understand to keep silent. They understand to know, to dare, and to keep silent is essential. So they test you in the beginning of your journey. Is this a flab? Is this a flabbermouth? Is this one of those people that does work and just wants to brag and blah 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 blah? That's one of the first things they test. They secondly see, are you really serious about this? Okay. So certain things are going to occur in your life. Certain uh chaotic events will occur in your life to see if you really about this, or are you just going to say, "Oh, fuck this. I ain't ready for this," and leave. I knew this woman once who came into this path. They were convinced they were a witch because they dressed like a witch since high school, so on and so forth. And I knew at that moment they're not about this path. So how I checked that was I gave that individual some work to do. They never completed most of the work. When the times got hard, oh, they definitely left the work. They disappeared on me for a couple years. Reconnected, spoke, saw the same mindset, same conditioning, same programming still existing. They disappeared again. It's And the justification for all this will always be the same answer. Oh, I got to take care of myself. You're not taking care of yourself. You're running from yourself. That's what you're doing. So you keep running into these nice little comfortable pockets because you refuse to be uncomfortable. You refuse to be destroyed. So you're seeking something to cushion your destruction. It's the same habitual pattern. Nothing has changed about that person. And I understand. This is why people sometimes don't like to take Patreon classes from myself, from Beniti, from Thomas Leroy, and other individuals that really make you do work. They don't want that. They want to feel good. They want to feel right. They want to feel holy. They want to feel righteous. They want to feel lovely. They want to feel They want to feel sexy. They want to be sexual. They want to be all this stuff, but they don't want to do no real work. I get that. There will never be a millionaire left hand path occultist lecturer through YouTube who's really about individuals doing the work. We ain't gonna get to that level, and we never seek it. We do this because we understand this worked for me, and my personal life is enriched by it in many facets. So I'm gonna share what I know. That's it. Nothing else. It works for you, great. If it doesn't work for you, find something else. Find somewhere else. That's how this work usually is. But you have to be willing to go through that process. You have to be willing to deal with what's going to hit you, what's going to come. Unfortunately, right now, we're in a day and time where we have too many entitled people, too many cowards, too many weak people. And hey, let them be where they're at. Just don't come here because if you come here with that entitlement, you're not getting nothing. Don't come here expecting something because you ain't getting nothing. Come in here willing to do the work on yourself because you're the only one that could change yourself, no one else. All we provide here is templates to give you steps to accomplish some of those things. That's it. Sure, we'll share information that we've gained along the way for these years of our study and travel. Of course, that's going to be a part of the process. But at the end of the day, you still have to do the work. The work. If you're not willing to do it, don't waste your time. Definitely don't waste my time. Definitely don't waste anybody else's time. Funny because people will always swear they know who you are. Very few people will ever know who I am. Because if you did, trust me, you wouldn't like me. And I'm fine with that. I'm actually happy, ecstatic with that. Because I'm not here to be your friend. I'm here to push you and motivate you to do the work of the self. Now, if we end up being friends through that process, all good. But I'm not here to be your buddy. I'm not here to be your homie. I'm not here for none of that. I'm here for us to do the work. That's it. Let's get to it. 2025 is flying by. Many of you all have already been deceived by the lies told to the masses, and you're starting to see it more and more. Many of you all are starting to see that this is not about politics. This is not about education. This is not about religion. What we're doing supersedes and overcomes all of that garbage. The work of the self is what we're doing here for you to find your true self. Because once you do, that's when you become a force and you become unstoppable. All right, so some quick announcements. We got some classes still going on Patreon. Check it out if you choose to. Your choice. Necromancy class, we're progressing along in that. We're about to work on some death curses, necromancy herbs to utilize, so on and so forth. So the necromancy class is banging, hot, kicking. We got some first level of vampire class, which is awakening the sleeping dragon. That right there, we're getting into some astral travel work and how to actually utilize astral traveling, astral feeding, so on and so forth. Tunnels of Set. We are on Kurgasiax right now, and we're going to be finishing this up hopefully by the end of this year. Tunnels of Set are not easy to accomplish in 1 year, and possibly two, because we only really connect in monthly, once a month. So, yeah, it takes quite some time to accomplish that, but we hope to accomplish it this year. Once the Tunnels of Set class is done, we're going to easily transition into the Qliphoth class. Which, if you're in this Tunnels of Set class, you may not have to transition because I'll just change the title of the class and you'll stay in the same class without having to register again for the class. The advanced vampire class, we're finishing up finally the 7 stages of vampiric alchemy. The shadow work class, I got some good work with you. Good work for you with Set C-Tech. Good shadow work this month with C-Tech. That's gonna knock some heads. All right. This month, I mean next month, March, I plan to have the financial class again for information on LLCs, how to establish LLC, how to get funding, so on and so forth, how to do some credit repair, so on and so forth. I have time in March to actually do that class, and we'll probably do the class 4 times, which is 4 quarters of the year, which is every 3 months. So look out for that. And for some who've asked, yes, I have a mentorship class. I have a few people in the mentorship class, and the mentorship class gets a lot of work that they get to accomplish. They get personal one-on-one classes where we discuss your journey and we get to the root of certain issues or problems that I can't actually accomplish in a full class because some of that information may be personal. So you get more personal one-on-one information and sharing of steps to take. So hopefully we will see some of you all in 2025. All righty. Infernal blessings to all. To all, a wonderful day.